Hello, today I'll be reviewing Hold Your Fire by Rush. So yeah, another Rush review. Now I don't know if I'll review their whole discography, and I don't know if I'm gonna do another Rush review soon after this one, but this was an album that I at some point did want to talk about. But yeah, an album that's definitely not a fan favorite in their discography. It definitely has its fans and definitely has its following, but when it comes to ranking their albums, this album is often considered one of their weaker albums. It's usually towards the bottom of rankings for people, sometimes at dead last, but at least within the bottom three. But for me, I don't know. I personally think this album's kind of underrated. I mean, yeah, there are musical choices throughout the album that definitely make the album feel of its time. I mean, it came out in 1987, and they're really going all in with the synthesizers and the keyboards with the album. And if I remember correctly, I know Alex Lifeson wasn't on board with the whole how the keyboards were being used or how much they were being used with the album. Unless I'm thinking of a different album, but either way, this album, when it came out commercially, it wasn't as successful as some of their previous albums. I think it didn't chart as well as like an album like Signals or Moving Pictures or even Permanent Waves. But either way, let's go ahead and dive into this album. The album starts off with Force 10, and if I remember correctly, this was one of the singles. And lyrically, it's basically about facing barriers in your life and not being afraid of failure. And this song is definitely one of my favorites on the album. One of the more upbeat, more hooky songs of the album. And there are musical choices throughout the song that just really pull me into the song. And overall, an all around catchy album opener. But next we got Time Stand Still, which is maybe the biggest song on the album. You do get some guest vocals from a vocalist named Amy Mann, of course, in the chorus. And you know, I like her voice, and I think she sounds good in this song. But yeah, definitely one of the more commercial sounding songs from Rush in general, and overall, a pretty solid song. I think it's another highlight off the album, and still a song that I still enjoy today. But yeah, again, probably another highlight off the album. And same with the next song, Open Secrets. So yeah, the album so far is definitely starting off strong, and these first few songs definitely give you a good idea of what you're in for with this album musically. And Open Secrets, I think this is maybe one of the most underrated songs, along with other songs like Time and Motion and Chemistry is another one I'd mention too. But there are, of course, many songs you can choose from. But Open Secrets, again, definitely a pretty underrated song. Maybe not the most, I guess, unique song in their discography, but I still think it's a song that certainly deserves more attention slash recognition, and certainly deserves to be named as one of the highlights off the album too. Because all around, I think it's a pretty catchy song, and I like the chemistry between the guitar and the keyboards in this song too. And I do also really like the chorus too. But yeah, overall, a pretty solid song that I think is often overlooked. But next we have the song Second Nature, and the song's a bit more melodic, a bit more maybe moody, and the song lyrically gives you the message of if you can't reach perfection, you can at least, or we should at least settle with some sort of form of improvement. I decided to look a little bit more into the lyrics of this song because this is one of the more unique songs on the album, and I don't know if it's one of my personal favorites on the album, but I do like it though. I do think it has some strong melody to it though, such as in, of course, the verses. But musically, a pretty interesting song, I'd say. But next, we have the song Prime Mover, kind of like with Open Secrets. I think this song is pretty underrated and kind of overlooked. Kind of like with Force 10, a bit more upbeat, a bit more hooky, and all around a pretty catchy song. Probably has some of my favorite guitar work on the album. But yeah, all around a pretty solid song. But next we got the song Lock and Key, and this was one of the singles off the album. Now, when I was getting into Rush, this was a song that I did really enjoy, but as time has gone on, at least to nowadays, I wouldn't say that I like the song as much as I used to back when I was new to Rush, but I still do like the song overall, though. There was a period where, or a time where this song was one of my personal favorites, but nowadays, I don't know if it's one of my personal favorites. Maybe it's an honorable mention, but either way, overall, pretty solid song. A bit more mid-pace and definitely on the more commercial side of things for Rush, but yeah, overall, pretty solid song. But then you move into Mission, and Mission is probably one of the fan favorites off the album. I have seen some love for this song, and vocally one of Geddy's best moments on the album, I'd say. And there are some musical sections throughout the song that I really dig, especially the more melodic or synthesizer based musical sections. But of course, I do like the guitar also in this song. But overall, musically, I'd say one of the more interesting songs of the second half of the album. Because in the second half, the album does start to lose a little bit of steam, but I still think the second half does have some solid stuff. Like with the next song, Turn the Page, one of the more upbeat songs on the album, and not a whole lot to say about this one. Maybe not one of the most memorable songs, but overall, pretty solid in general. But next we have the song Taishan, and Taishan is the name of a holy mountain in China. This song definitely gets its fair share of hate. I know the band themselves are not a big fan of this song, and because of that, the fans also feel like they have to not like the song either, or at least some of them. I'm sure there's some fans that legit don't like the song, but for me personally, I honestly don't think this song is really that bad. I mean, yeah, musically you can tell it's definitely of its time and probably hasn't aged the greatest, but you can also say the same thing with a few other songs on here too. But Taishan, I think it's okay. Some people say it might be their worst song. I don't know if I'd go that far, because you also have another song, Dog Years, which I think is definitely another song that I think is one of their weaker songs in general in their discography. But again, Taishan, I think it's okay. Not the most memorable song on the album, but again, I think it's okay. But the album closes with High Water, which, to be honest, not the strongest album closer, but I do like it though. But every time I listen to it, I feel like I like it more with each listen, but at the same time, I don't know. Doesn't have, I guess you could say this song that doesn't have the most, or doesn't have the strongest, or
Well, we're waiting.
or I mean, the song doesn't leave much of a lasting impression. I mean, I do like it overall. I do like the drum patterns, such as in the verses, but again, the song doesn't really leave much of a lasting impression, and a little, maybe a hair underwhelming musically, but I do like it though. It is a bit on the longer side, at least for this album. It's 5.5 minutes, but overall, I think the song is okay. I do like it more than Taishan, but that's not saying much. But either way, I think it's an okay song. But anyways, if I had to rate this album, I'd probably give it maybe an 8 out of 10. Honestly, I don't know if I'd give any Rush album below an 8. But for this album, I definitely give it an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. Yeah, there are certainly some moments in this album that maybe feel a bit dated or definitely obvious that it's of its time, but I still think the album definitely has its share of songs that I think are certainly worth giving another listen or another chance if you didn't like the album at first. But anyways, I'm going to again give this album an 8 out of 10. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on the album. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know some of your favorite or least favorite songs on the album and all the good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.